Coming up next on this track is a panel session led by Bera, participating in RWB for the first time. Marketplaces and high streets, a two-way flourishing opportunity.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first panel session of RWB 2020. We're really excited to have you here. And I'm Chrisella Spy, I'm the event producer of RWB, and we're delighted to welcome for the first time BIRA, the British Independent Retailers Association, who've brought along two people to come and discuss the flourishing opportunities for the independent retailer in the marketplace space. I'm going to just hand over to each of them to introduce themselves more fully. Andrew Goodacre, CEO of BIRA, would you like to start?
Yes, good morning, everyone. So I'm Andrew, and I head up British Independent Retailers, or BIRA. We are a membership association covering the whole of the UK with 3,000 plus members, with everything from a small pet shop to an independent department store.
Morning all, my name is Darren. I'm the Managing Director of Locally UK. We're a small tech company that helped support BIRA in the building of their new marketplace, Neartoo.
And hi everyone, good morning. My name's Helen. I am the founder of Small Stuff UK, which is a bricks and mortar and online store. We're also a member of BIRA. That's it.
Okay, so let's start with the first question. So I think we're all very, very familiar with the impact of the pandemic. It all came very, very suddenly, and it was a bombshell for all independent retailers. So Andrew, if I can turn to you first, how did you go about addressing this impact?
Yes, well, it was a situation none of us had seen before. To see high streets 80% closed down was a unique event in its own way. And really, we listened to what members were telling us, and we looked at consumer behavior. And what we immediately saw were two significant shifts, really, that have continued even post-pandemic. First of all, with shops closed, people started to shop more online. People who had not previously shopped online had to, because there was no other way of getting what they needed. And secondly, with people working from home, spending more time where they live, we've seen this resurgence in local shopping and local high streets, and people spending more time and spending more money now in their local economies. So we saw those two trends, and really what we recognise going forwards is that what retailers need, large and small, but we're focused on smaller independent retailers, is the ability to combine the internet power, the power of engagement online and the ability online, with the desire for people to shop more locally.
And so what was the plan?
Well, the plan really was to, I suppose, immediately make sure people get through the pandemic and survive. And retailers are a hardy bunch, resilient bunch, and they've worked so hard to get to this point. And then in the past 6 to 8 months, or probably longer now, probably this idea started more than a year ago, where we realised that what independent retailers had was lots of enthusiasm, lots of energy, lots of commitment to changing their business model, but not necessarily the skill or the ability to know how to do it. And so what we wanted to do was bridge that gap between the independent retailers' desire to move to a hybrid model, to have more presence online, and to take away some of the fear by creating an online platform for them in the shape of Neartoo that really made it easy for them to do this. And effectively, it's owned by them. This is their platform, really. This is designed for them, owned by them, and made for them to help them move and start that journey into a hybrid retail environment. So
how did you go about setting up the marketplace for your members? What was the plan for that?
Yeah, we obviously, marketplaces are not new. We see them all the time, and there's large and small ones. And I think from our point of view, we wanted to partner with a business that shared our aspiration about local shopping, because this is about what we wanted to do. Really was make sure this is still about independent retailers engaging with their local community and enabling them to sell locally. Naturally, it creates opportunities elsewhere, but it really priority is still to help them sell more locally. And that's when we found Darren and his team, because he had a platform called Locally, and was sharing our values. Really, he saw that the value in looking at an area and making it the place to be, and helping connect communities with businesses in an online format. And I think there's just a natural meeting of minds and presence that said, well, can we do this? Can we scale this on a national basis? Can we make it work UK wide? And that's where we came to meet Darren, his team, and hence the outcome of that is Neartoo.
So Darren, when you came to planning the marketplace, you would have needed to have kept in mind that the independent retailers wanted to keep their bricks and mortar operations in place, and that whatever you were creating was complementary to that. So how did you go about planning for that?
Yeah, absolutely. We were quite fortunate in that we were already trading on a hyper-local marketplace, as Andrew said, and we were trading with that pre-pandemic as well. So we had some background in a communal online trading platform before the pandemic hit. Obviously, in March, we had a massive influx of people needing that sudden urge to get online and to sell so they could continue to trade. What was nice for us during that time was we had businesses that had never even entertained trading online that reached out to us, and the nice thing for us was, they comments like it literally saved their business. They were still able to trade even though their doors were closed. And I think that initial movement to online was, it was obviously a scary time for people. Myself, I'd had background in retail. I'd actually been a partner in a high street store for 20 years before we started Locally UK. And it was there really that we realized that there was this gap between bricks and mortar and online stores. And we knew the importance of having a website just for an additional channel, not necessarily just for sales, but for people to find us. But we didn't really have that skill set within our workforce. It was expensive. It was just as hard to get people to your website as it was through your front doors. So it was then really that the idea of a hyper-local marketplace where we knew that other people would be trading under similar circumstances to us. They had those same problems, 2 doors down as we were experiencing. So how could we do something to combine that so that actually as a collective we had a bit more oomph behind us to combat some of these online giants and just to really satisfy that convenience that all consumers were looking for at the time. And as I said, this was pre-pandemic, and that accelerated massively during lockdown and the pandemic. So it's jumped us forward, probably 5-10 years as to where we were going. But that's here to stay to a certain element. So we now need to find ways to bridge that gap between online sales and bricks and mortar stores. But we know that bricks and mortar stores win when they get people through the doors. They make those connections with people and build those relationships, as I'm sure, Helen is where she thrives, is that they can make a relationship and make a customer. And if we can do that via a marketplace and get them to build that relationship, through store, then, we've succeeded in that element. So.
Well, how easy has it been to get the independent retailers to buy into the concept of adding this channel to them? I mean, Andrew, you had to tackle this with your members. How easy has it been?
It's not been as easy as you might imagine. Actually, we can see the opportunity, and to back one thing I would add to Darren's comments, reminding me that pre-pandemic, I think lots of our members saw the internet as a big threat to the high street and a threat to their business. And then during the pandemic and shops had closed, it becomes suddenly the opportunity. And that's part of our challenge now, is to make sure that the retailers, members and non-members, because this is open to all independents, they don't have to be a member of ours to take part. But our challenge is to ensure that they see this as that opportunity, that ongoing opportunity. It is still hard work to convince people that because it requires a degree of effort on behalf of the retailer. They've got to reorganize themselves. They may be brand new to platform selling, but in any case, so it does seem a new world to them. They do feel that they lack the technical knowledge and skills to do it, and we are really hand-holding them through this. Now, having said that, we've got over 250 users registered on our site in a very short space of time. So we've done really well to capture that many people, and it shows a level of enthusiasm. We've got a quarter, 25% of those people are now selling online as well through our site. So there is progress, and we need to highlight the progress and momentum and keep selling this concept out there and reminding people of this opportunity.
And Helen, how you actually were one of those retailers who did embrace the opportunity. Can you tell us something about your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So like many bricks and mortar owners, it came as a bit of a shock that we had to close our stores. I've had a shop since 2016. I never even thought about really selling online. I kind of dabbled in it. I didn't have the skill set. I had to change and pivot really quickly overnight. But I knew that it was going to be a challenge, but running a business in itself is a challenge, and the investment and the time and everything that you put into your business day to day, I knew something had to change in order to survive. So what I thought would be a great opportunity in collaboration between sort of an online sales platform and in-store sort of sales would be this opening up to collaboration for experience. So getting people through the door and having your chats day to day, that all went out of the window. So there was more things that I could do in order to bring that back. So it's looking at your customer journey in store and sort of replicating that online as best you possibly can. So I started doing things like customer service meetings through Zoom and all sorts of things. Social media, all new to me. It's a great free service, but it meant that I could chat sort of almost one-to-one with my customers and get them to understand my business journey and get them in the store. But from, the tip of Scotland, right from, we're based in Sheffield. This has opened so many doors to us. So it was just a continuous growing journey, but I knew that something had to change in order to survive. And because I embraced it and because I opened it up, and it doesn't mean that I got it right the first time, but because I kept going on this journey, it's given us so many more opportunities. So it's been actually a really positive step. And like Darren said, it's just meant that we've had to move a lot quicker. It would have been something I probably would have eventually kind of embraced, but it meant that we had to just do it tenfold a lot quicker.
And do you see it as a sort of ongoing relationship that you're going to have, new relationship that you're going to have with your customers? Yeah. And how do you see that developing through the marketplace?
Absolutely. So what's really brilliant about it is encouraging people to shop locally. So it is a great hybrid. It's encouraging people to find out local stores near to them that they may have not even ever realised were there. It's going to be a growing thing. It's going to be something that's going to take some time to get sort of right and to sell through. But I see it as only a positive thing, that it's just going to open so many more doors for us. There's so many opportunities to sell hybrid. We've got in-store, we've got our own website, we've got this brilliant marketplace. This is just can only open doors to more customers and give everybody the opportunity to choose which way they want to shop with us as well.
I think it is all about retailers recognizing that your shopper, the consumer, is behaving differently and will continue to evolve and change. And those changes mean that the shopper has many different ways of finding what's available. And if a retailer doesn't understand, that doesn't put themselves in front of those various channels, they will miss this opportunity. Because I think lots of shoppers want to buy locally, actually, if they can. That resurgence is still there. And what Neartoo does and what retailers can do through their social media engagement, which links together and supports and complements each other, is really make sure that there's no excuse for not knowing what is available locally on behalf of the shopper.
Do you see them that there is an opportunity to create a digital high street, so that there is the physical local community, but there's also digital local community. Do you see that as a growing opportunity?
Yeah,
I'll let Helen answer, because I think Helen's probably got a community already of followers, because Helen is hiding a light under a bushel, I think, because I know her business, and it's a sustainable retailer as well. So Helen, you must have a fantastic community, I would think.
Yeah, absolutely. So specifically within my business, it's the ethos and vision is sustainability. So I already have my kind of sustainability community that follows the story and the journey of my business, but it's also opened it up to different communities. So people that want to shop locally, support independence, but may not want to. So for example, I have a great community of people that live in Devon. My shop's in Sheffield, but a lot of my shoppers come from Devon, and it's because there's already that sort of built up community to shop locally, and they want to support independence. You know, there's Campaign Shop Independent, all these brilliant sites. But bringing that all together and having these new people start to follow our journey has meant that we've kind of got bubbles everywhere nationally that suddenly really are interested. They want to see the story. They want to see that independents are doing these great things and pivoting and changing to online, so they can learn about this across the board.
Yeah, that was one of the things that we experienced when we first set out in our journey with our initial marketplace. The discussions we had with councils at the time, and this was in 2019, was they feared, you know, how would this affect footfall? You know, was this doing, you know, more of a hindrance to the high street? And obviously the message that I was trying to sell at the time was, you know, sales are going to be the things that keep the doors open for these people. So let's create as many sales channels as we can. And we'd experienced it by taking our business online. When we did, we had new customers in the shop literally saying those words, Helen, I didn't even know you were here. And we'd leafleted our local town, we were in local press, and yet still people didn't know we were there. And it wasn't until we had that online presence. And I think, you know, whether it's a marketplace, whether it's your own website, just having those additional sales channel and that online presence opens up so many more doors for new consumers. And, you know, obviously now it keeps within that trend of online shopping. You've got generations of people now shopping online that would have never entertained it 2 years ago, but now they enjoy it, they flourish on it, and you know, and that's what they're going to continue to do.
And what I would say, Christelle, and I've seen a comment in the chat box there about interaction via the social media channels, and I think you have a realization that retailers have had to learn very quickly, and we've had to learn this with the way we engage members and development of Neartoo, is that there needs to be cohesive action taken. So it's not just a platform, it's not just your website, it's not just social media. A retailer, a business has to bring all that together so that it complements each other and supports your activities. So you still create that sense of your in-store experience that Helen so eloquently put it, but into a digital format as well, not replacing it but complementing it. And I think when that happens well, and we've got lots of examples of that, people doing really well during the pandemic, and Neartoo is simply a bolt-on to that, an addition to their repertoire of opportunities for consumers to share their products. When retailers really get that communication correct and cohesive, it's incredibly powerful.
I think you hit the right word when you say complementary. I think that's what it's all about, isn't it? That they support each other, they're not contradictory, and they don't work against each other. And that's really, would you say that's the way forward? That it doesn't matter whether you're an independent retailer or a big brand or manufacturer. That's the way to look at it going forward.
Yeah, it is, because even within that Neartoo, you know, we don't just on Neartoo you can find there's a functionality where you can look on it and find shops near me, find shops near us, put your postcode in, put your place in. Now we don't just have our members on there, we don't just have retailers on there, we have independent businesses on there that we know about, that will be found, and that's important because that builds up an image of what that place is like. Where Helen is in Sheffield, a whole street is a fantastic collection of independent businesses, some retail, some hospitality, some service, and And what we want Neartoo to develop is this digital view of a place that allows people to understand the place before they get there and give them an idea what they can find and what they can enjoy there. And that's why I think, you know, we're not being protectionist at all about Neartoo. This is about developing digital versions of high streets around the country. So,
talking about functionality and future, so what enhancements are you planning for the platform going forward now that you've got the basic concept out there?
Yeah, our initial thoughts when we first put this together was we'd realised that lots of small businesses had a sudden, almost an immediate expense to try and get online quickly during the pandemic. So how could we add more value to that? So with the platform, we've tried to, we've recognised that people have spent money on Shopify's WooCommerce, these types of websites to get selling quickly. So how can we add more value to that? So we allow people to synchronise those feeds with the platform, because, like I said, I knew myself that all the additional workload of running a website can be overwhelming in a business when there's small numbers of you. So we can synchronize with their existing e-commerce platforms to try and reduce that workload whilst gaining an additional sales channel. We were conscious that we needed to try and keep that workload at a minimum, also to get engagement, because if you were having to try and manage stock or inventory on another platform, the likelihood is you just weren't going to have the time to put towards it. But we've got lots in the pipeline. Andrew would be terrified as he holds the purse strings of our phase 2 list. But it's really
yes. I will be, but it's also progress and progression. I think the other thing I would say in terms of progression, a lot of platforms are sort of, when you go on them, it's categorized by product, by retail sector, by type of shop or by place, and so on. And that's all very relevant, and it should start there. I think there's a real opportunity, and it builds on your point about digital high streets, but the high street retail world has an opportunity in terms of net zero and sustainability. And independent retailers, in many ways, leading the ways on this. And I mention this partly because Helen's here, but also because there's a concept called Green Street. Now, we're talking to the people behind this, because Green Street is about recognizing in any given area who are those green retailers, who are the people working in a sustainable way, who are the people who actually have got sustainable products, sustainable practices. And if we can incorporate that into Neartoo, as we want to, if we can actually identify those retailers making the steps in that right direction, then the shoppers will know, if they want to shop sustainably, where to find it very easily, very correctly, very quickly. And I think picking up on key consumer trends to help shape their visit to the site is another development we need to work with. We need to find partners in a way to do that. And I think that is a point of difference that you don't always get through platforms, which are often product based, as opposed to the type and the way the business is actually operating.
But you're also talking about shaping consumer trends as well as reacting to them. Would you think that that's part of what you're trying to achieve?
I would love to think we can. If we get to the point where we influence consumer trends, and then I'll go off and shake Amazon's hands, probably. It'd be fantastic. I think what we have to do at this stage is recognise what consumers are looking for, and there's certain trends about local shopping. The consumers, especially younger people, are far more aware of the environment and want to shop more responsibly. And I think we have a responsibility, to help the consumers make the right choice, but also connect businesses that we know are the vanguard of this and actually live and breathe sustainable retailing and responsible retailing, and connect the two together. And I think Neartoo and it can really play a good role in that. I don't know what Helen thinks, but I mean that's
what do you think?
People in that respect as well.
Oh, absolutely. To find a platform that would for me personally as a shopper, but also through my business. You know, my sort of key trending words and things like that on Google and how people find me is through sustainability and sustainable products and sustainable ethos. So to have a platform that basically links with something that would show everybody doing these amazing things, that can only be a positive thing. That can only be a great connection to your bricks and mortar store or service or independent. Absolutely.
Yeah, and we could even offer some kind of a reassurance. I was going to say guarantee. That's always a bit strong, because yeah, we all know that sustainable retailing is an opportunity, but it's also an opportunity for people to exploit it. And greenwashing is ever more present these days. I'm convinced that the people who talk to us are absolutely ethical about the way they do it, and I think Neartoo could act as a guardian of what is all good about retailing in that respect.
So what would you say that has been the most successful aspect of moving from bricks and mortar to the hybrid model that we're discussing today, embracing the marketplace?
I'd say the most successful element of it is just the additional channel that it's created for independent retailers, for bricks and mortar stores. It's given them so much more exposure to people that, you know, may have never entertained visiting that store previously. It's helped to make additional connections. And if someone finds you online, you know, once Helen gets someone through her doors, she'll make a customer of them for life. And, you know, whether they found her online or not isn't the issue then. If it's opened that channel and it's got them through their doors, you know, if they then continue to transact in store, you know, Neartoo or other websites, you know, they've done their job in getting that customer to, you know, through those front doors.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I think it just breaks down barriers, Chris. I know it's funny. This is retail without borders, and in a way, it's retail without barriers. In that, all too often, smaller businesses see this kind of development as a large business entity. It's what big businesses do, and we pick up the scraps on the smaller side. I mean, this is a chance for small businesses to be proactively out there and recognizing that there is help. Absolute help for them. There is support for them, and it's easy to take advantage of that from their perspective. It's easy to take part in it, and I think, you know, and I think what we've seen over the last couple of years is we've broken down those barriers of fear and lack of technical expertise, so that more people have come to realize that hybrid is not one or the other. In the past, it used to be shop or online. Now I think there's a real realization that hybrid is one of the best ways forward, if not the best way forward.
I mean, I suppose perhaps a nagging fear for some of the retailers that who haven't quite embraced it yet. One of their fears will be that they lose that personal relationship with their customers. And how do you explain it and overcome that fear with them?
Yeah, I mean, we've tried to build the platform in such a way that individual stores can personalize their profile, etc. Consumers can contact them directly. So we really just act as a vehicle, you know, to make that connection to the consumer. You know, like I said previously, if you can get that interaction with the consumer in any platform, that's where independent businesses thrive, because they make a relationship. You know, how many customers that Helen will know on a first name basis because they're regular visitors, and that's what in these, you know, that's where they thrive. That's what led us to, you know, to try and do something, was because, you know, I'm quite fortunate in the town that we live in, where I grew up. All the store owners knew my name, so I could never get into trouble because it would get back to family. But I've got two small boys now, and I want them to have that same relationship. I don't want them to be going to a completely beige high street, or you know, just doing everything online from their living room. I want them to be able to go into a store, and for the store owners to know them, you know, by name and know their background sort of thing.
Yeah, I think the other features we were keen to include with our site is it's not just a transactional platform. Yes, if you want to transact online, by all means you can, but actually it's as much to do about finding. So just knowing and being able to find and search what's available locally, then going and visiting the shop, or doing the in-between bit and click and collect. So you reserve it in the shop, or you pay for it and go and collect in the shop. So all three options are available to users of this side. It is not one or the other, all three. And because we're conscious, we still want people to visit the physical premises, because from a retailer's point of view and looking at it from a purely business point of view, it's easier in some ways to sell people in the shop than it is online, because you can show, touch, feel, and have that sales conversation with them. And online is a little bit more impersonal, to an extent. So Neartoo is about making sure that we're not replacing the journey to the shop. We're not taking that bit away, but still the retailer has to do their bit to engage, whether it's in the shop or virtually.
And that's partly what made our job easier, and what was so refreshing about speaking to Andrew and the rest of the team at Bira was, it was never just about a revenue stream. It was always about what can we do for our members, what do independent businesses need, and how can we best support them with this movement to online.
So I wonder if we could just open up to we've got some time, we can open up to some questions. We've had lots of comments. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to ask our panelists some questions about this topic?
There's some questions I see some questions in the chat thing, Christelle, and one of them is about incentivization rewards. And we haven't talked about it so far, but we have partnered with a social media company called Maybe, and they have incorporated a rewards system within the Neartoo shopping experience. So, and retail, and you can get it, you don't have to buy on Neartoo, you can buy it, retailers can take part within their shop as well. So there is a rewards program built in, because I think recognizing loyalty and rewarding loyalty in this way is often seen as a big company aspect, but this brings it down as a small business opportunity as well.
That's are there any more? I'm just checking to see if there are any more questions in the chat.
There's a question about virtual reality. I don't know if Helen sees virtual reality as something she would ever do.
I was actually
I'm open to it.
I think it would be quite good for us just to actually explore some of these new technologies that are coming in, and because they would perhaps enhance the experience for the customer, because they're able to have a virtual physical presence, if I can put it in that way. It takes the hybrid model even further. But how would you feel about adding that to the platform, Andrew?
I think I'm not sure it would add to the platform, but I think at the end of the day, you are right in that these new technologies will come along. I mean, I saw a news article on local news the other day. I think someone went to a virtual reality disco back in the 80s and relived their youth, or some kind of a rave. I'm not sure what it was. It was certainly, as an 80s child, it's not something I remember terribly well, but it shows what is possible. And I think what technology is showing us all the time is the impossible is possible, as I say. It really is, and I don't doubt that that there will be opportunities for retailers of all sorts to look at virtual reality technology as an example and say, well, okay, if I really wanted to engage an audience about the products I have, and if it's a fashion shop and do a fashion show, wouldn't it be great if I could almost create a virtual audience for that, in that way, and they can almost touch and feel and see it in a 3D perspective as opposed to a 2D screen. So I think I think it will develop, and I think technology will become more accessible as it develops itself. So I don't think, and retail's always been dynamic, it will continue to be dynamic, and retailers will have to learn and identify which bits of this dynamic world is best for them and how to best use it. Our role, I think, is to try to almost aggregate it and introduce them to what we think are the most suitable bits for them, based on what we see in the marketplace as well.
What do you think, Darren?
Yeah, and I think, follow on from that, our role will be then to try and make that technology as accessible to, as many independent businesses as possible. That was our aim from the start, really. We knew we would have members that were literally still trading with manual tills, notebook order systems, etc. And, how can we make, a platform like Neartoo or, online sales channel, how can we make that accessible to those generations as well? So I think, as tech moves on, that will be our role, is to try and make it as accessible as possible.
Have you got your eye on anything at the moment that you'd like? You talked about that
I think
phase 2 scary. Andrew, what are those scary thoughts that you're having?
Yeah, we've not shared that with Andrew yet. So. But I think you've got other speakers from Meta, etc., where we'll all possibly be shopping in the metaverse in the not too distant future. But again, how can we make that how can we make indies thrive in that environment? That will be our challenge.
I think just on the back of that, from a retailer's perspective, just don't be scared of these new technologies. Don't be worried about them. If you get them wrong, it's fine. There's things I've done within my business, owning my business as a bricks and mortar, that the journey has never been sort of linear. So I think it's important to embrace these things. It doesn't mean that you necessarily have to be an expert in the first instance as soon as you do it, but it's the journey of doing it and what works best for you as a retailer.
I think
and don't be afraid of failure, Helen, is it really? Because not everything works first time. It doesn't, but you have to it doesn't mean to say it's a bad idea. You just need to better understand it and see what needs changing to make it work next time.
Yeah.
So you've got 250 people that you've already persuaded, but 20,000 members. So quite a long journey to go. Somebody got that was 251 actually wanting to join. Yeah. Get them on board quickly.
Get them on board while we can. We have got a long way to go. We know that. I mean, there's 280,000 independent retail businesses out there in the UK. So, we have to start somewhere. And I think we're pleased with the progress we've made so far. Yes, there's been frustrations because we are so enthusiastic. We believe we're doing the right thing, and actually, more than anything else, we believe we're offering retailers a chance to improve where they are at the moment. It's tough out there. The high street is really difficult, no matter where you are, whether you are city centre, local. It is tough, and I mean, just come out of COVID, you've now got increased costs of running a business coming along with energy or whatever the case may be. So retailers always have to be looking at alternatives, creative ways of increasing their sales. And, we have to keep pushing, and we will keep pushing to engage and bring more and more people on. What we really need are retailers on there to shout about it as well, because the best way to engage an audience is to have people like Helen, the early adopters, proven successes, who can then help us be the champion of it, because retailers will listen to other retailers much more than they will do even us as the association.
I mean, it's quite a strong message that is, if they don't really embrace this, there's not really going to be a huge future for them. And you wouldn't have thought that it was quite so difficult, or do you not agree with that?
Well, I think not every retailer will need hybrid. Some can be quite unique in a way and have that unique feature within their community and survive. But it's just becoming so much harder. And I think what is frustrating is trying to convince people to see the opportunity that we see. And this is a kind of a no-risk opportunity to the retailer. This is fairly sort of no risk or low risk to them. Yes, it requires a bit of effort and work, but it's not a huge investment from their side, financial investment. So it really does. I suppose it challenges us sometimes when we think, well, why aren't people coming in their hundreds to us, thousands to us. But you have to start somewhere, as I say, and we're convinced that we can bring more and more people along with us.
Yeah, it's like anything new as well, isn't it? You know, we're a new brand at the moment. It's a new message that, you know, members haven't received before. So you know, the journey started, and like you say, we've been really pleased with the initial uptake, and you know, people are transacting on the website as well. But not only that, you know, we can see from the analytics that people are using it as a great tool to find local businesses. Now they're searching their local area, they're viewing store pages, you know, and then they're contacting the sellers, and they're making that trip to them. And the other nice thing is it's trying to replicate that community feel as well. Not only when you're browsing, you know, Helen's store, but you can see from when you're browsing Helen's stores what other stores are near to her as well. So you can almost plan your independent journey around town from the comfort of your sofa, but you know, but still embrace that community feel.
So we're getting close to the end of our session. It's been really interesting talking to you all. I hope the audience have really appreciated your input. I don't believe that there are any other questions that we have. So I'd like just to ask all three of you to give me your vision for 5 years' time, high street and marketplaces. Where do you see them being in 5 years' time?
I hope to see the high streets as, you know, vibrant and as colourful as ever. And what's been, I suppose, one of the positives of the pandemic is we've seen some of the really big department stores leave high streets, and we found that they're being now filled with, you know, smaller sections of independent businesses, and I think that adds the variety to the high street. And hopefully, you know, marketplaces and online channels can really help to amplify that and make that connection. So,
absolutely, I must agree. High streets, we will always love going into a shop. I don't think that's ever going to get taken away. The whole experience, but I think working collaboratively in a hybrid way to give people the opportunity that maybe not live close or any of the sort of things that stop them, I think it's just going to improve the high street dramatically for independents.
I hope that in 5 years' time we will absolutely see high streets as one place of independent businesses. Yes, we're retail, but on every high street you need diversity, you need vibrancy, and that comes from other businesses, whether it's a pub, a cafe, a bar, there's a hairdresser, all those things come together to create a place that people want to visit. And all too often at the moment, I think we are splitting it into retail sectors and hospitality sectors and creating national strategies for that. And actually you want really a vision of a high street. And then once you've got that vision, the platforms and what we think Neartoo will play a role and others within this will then transport that vision into a digital part of the world that allows people to understand, if I'm going to visit Crooks Road in Sheffield, where Helen's business is, I know straight away what I can expect there and why I should go there and what a great place it would be to spend a day. So I think that cohesive approach to high streets is where it all comes in, digital and physical, but all parts of the high street working together.
That's a great place to end, Andrew. Thank you very much, all of you, indeed. High street and the marketplaces working hand in hand, flourishing opportunity. Thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.